I'm ready.
Okay, started recording.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right. Trustee Grissom, would you mind reading the mission statement?
I would not mind. Lakeland Joint School District's daily mission is to maximize student learning and ensure every student is growing academically, socially, emotionally, and behaviorally every day in all environments.
Thank you. Oops, having a little technical difficulty here. There we are. Okay, so this special meeting was called based on the changes from Panhandle Health District by removing the mask mandate, and there was some concern that our reopen plan might be in conflict with their recommendations. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Trustee Grissom so she can lead the discussion with concerns, etc., and things we should be considering.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. It was just that when Panhandle Health decided to rescind the mask mandate, which was, I think it was a 5-2 vote for the 5 northern counties. My concern is that our reopen plan explicitly addressed that and was sort of in sync with what they had recommended before. And my concern is that now that the community understands there's no mandate, I didn't want to have parents and students and whomever showing up and there be a conflict among the people within the district saying, hey, well, we don't have to wear a mask because there's no mandate now. So my recommendation was to remove all of the language so there is not a conflict regarding the masks or face coverings or what have you in the reopen plan, just so that
I think that's a good idea.
That we don't have all that. So I had thought about it when I had sat through the meeting, and then with everything that was happening, I forgot about it. And I was like, oh, well, maybe Monday, hopefully nobody will say anything Monday, and we can get it covered.
Yeah, we don't have any, this happened on Thursday, we don't have anything on Friday, nothing on the whole week from any concerns as far as no voicemails, no calls, no emails. I don't, the mask mandate just means it's not mandated any longer, but they still are following the CDC guidelines, which is if you can't maintain the 3 feet of social distancing for elementary students, then they still recommend a mask. So again, I don't think we've been following the Panhandle anyways, because this is what the board initially came up with. Randy, you were Trustee May, you were here. Face coverings, mask shields would be recommended where social distancing cannot be maintained.
Which was Panhandle Health District's actual, that is language from the mandate. Yeah. So my concern wasn't not staying in sync with them, but not to be in conflict with them either. Was my point in bringing it up.
Is that the CDC's warning or wording, or is that directly Panhandle's? The face cover, is that their recommendation, or was that theirs because that was also the CDC's?
Yes, exactly what you said. If this was initially the CDC's recommendation and the Panhandle Health, but then they did a mandate for their district, the Panhandle Health District, and this school board at the time went with this language so that the parents could decide for their students and staff could decide for themselves.
Okay.
Okay, so Ramona, with our reopen plan stating face coverings, parentheses, masks, shields will be recommended where social distancing cannot be maintained. Do you think it would be beneficial to simply remove that statement?
Yes.
Or does, okay,
Yes, because my concern is this, and we've already had that in the past, is that we have staff and other students who, if they believe that the student or the other staff should be having a face mask or a shield or whatever, I want to remove any conflict and, from my perspective, any conflict with what is out there with Panhandle Health now, and for anybody, you know, saying, well, the reopen plan says you have to do it anyways,
okay.
you know?
What about our comments within the reopen plan with regard to extra masks being available in classrooms and in front offices? And then we have it again under one of the segments where it says face coverings will be recommended, extra face coverings and hand sanitizer will be available. That's under the bus transportation.
Yeah.
So are you,
Yeah,
would,
I don't think there's a problem in us, you know, if people still feel like they want to wear one or need to wear one or what. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just trying to mitigate any kind of conflict. That was my whole purpose of bringing it up. So
no, and I appreciate that. I really do, because I don't think we need to promote an atmosphere of conflict.
yeah, so,
Oh,
so
go ahead.
if people need a resource, if they feel like, oh no, you know, for their own personal safety, they feel like they need to wear one, and they can run to the office or ask the teacher, or, I mean, I don't have a problem with any of that, you know.
Okay.
I don't know what we do in that instance or not do, or, you know, it's up to
Well, Trustee Bain and Trustee Major, do either of you have any input with regard to this issue of removing the comments in the reopen plan about face coverings?
I don't see the hurt in it. Am I missing something?
No.
I mean, I really am genuinely wanting to know, like, point out if I have an oversight somewhere, what am I missing? Because I don't see the hurt in taking it out. If someone still wants to wear one, they can.
The CDC still, in the latest thing that I gave you, again, it's the board's decision. I'm just giving you the facts that down here at the bottom, where the CDC's operational strategy, which was just released, this recommends down. It's kind of hard to see that part.
I think it was in that top paragraph. Are you looking for where they say 3
Yeah.
feet instead of 6?
Yeah,
It was in that top section. More.
Yeah, it's the very first sentence.
Yeah, that very revised physical distancing recommendations to reflect at least 3 feet between students and classrooms and provide clear guidance when a greater distance, such as 6 feet, is recommended.
So if you can do 6 feet in schools, if you read down below, I reread it again this weekend. If you can maintain 6 feet, then you do not. Adults are supposed to, again, this is just the CDC, I'm just telling you, they recommend that the adults still wear masks, but the students don't need to. If it's 3 feet, then they recommend that you still wear masks. This is how I read it. It was pretty confusing, but that's when I told other superintendents, that's how they were reading it as well. This was just updated, but again, this is, CDC is doing the entire nation, which there's different levels throughout the country, so I'm not saying it's even applicable to us, I'm just telling you what the CDC says. So I just put that in there, but the board's welcome to do whatever they feel is appropriate for our district.
Well, I'm all right taking that out of there. I don't think it really matters. I think if someone wants to wear a face covering, they're going to wear a face covering. If they don't, they don't. I hope that's how it is. I have heard that there are some circumstances in which teachers are requiring that in their classroom, which makes me a little, no, that's not, okay.
They tried that, there's a few that tried that at the very beginning, but that, we got parent calls and we took care of that right away.
Great.
So that's definitely not happening, just any
Super.
knowledge. I would hope that we would be getting phone calls, but that really happened right off the bat, and I have not heard of it happening at all since then.
Great. That's fantastic.
And I was at 3 schools this morning, and I saw 1 student with a face mask, 1 principal with a face mask, and 1 lunch duty with a face mask, and not at those in 3 schools.
Okay.
And those are only people that I saw.
Well, heck, why have it in there then? Let's just take it out. That's my thought.
Okay. Sorry, I was reading all the other hyperlinks to the CDC that Dr. Meyer had included. Trustee Bain, do you have any input on this?
No, now that I understand it a little better, the reasoning for wanting it to be removed. So yeah, no, I don't have any further.
Okay. I would like to add that at the last board meeting, I had proposed that we try to do some sort of transitional process so that the kids can kind of get reacclimated to how school will be when school starts again, maybe let them use the lunchroom. So Dr. Meyer did have the administrators go through, and what's highlighted in yellow, and the reason I'm bringing this up now is because we were going to discuss this Thursday, but I did ask Dr. Meyer to just go ahead and put it on the reopen plan so that we could review it. And then maybe that's something we can remove from Thursday's agenda meeting, because we're already addressing the reopening plan right now. Does that make sense? So if we just tackle it all right now, it will be an effective board meeting.
Sure. Good plan.
Okay. So I don't know if you've all had a chance to review through what was in yellow. And if you have any questions regarding it.
Would you like me to go through them or just answer any questions?
If you'd like, I think it might be beneficial, since you should know the backstory behind the changes. You could go through all of them for us. And
Elementary administrators wrote this little intro paragraph. They thought it was important for the board and the public to hear this piece, because it's a little different in elementary than it is in secondary from 6 through 12. So they are going to revise some end of year assemblies based on capacity. Right now, obviously, 40%, they need to do a little bit more based on the slacker restrictions. They now have recess. Instead of just being in zones where they had to stay with their classrooms, they're going to have open, now that the weather's nicer, there'll also be more snow is melted, there's greater areas. So the recesses are going to be open now. Their parent volunteer opportunities are really depending on schools. There's 2 elementaries that do not want to open that up yet because their staff's not comfortable. And I said, I'm not pushing you. If they know their culture and climate at their school. So unless we get parents calling and complaining to us to talk, then I will bring it up with the board. But right now, we're not seeing that. So I'm going to let them do it by building for the parent volunteers. All of them are going to do this where they're loosening their flex grouping. That means instead of their pods, if they maybe have a low at grade level and above grade level, that they have groups for math, reading, different groups that they do. They're going to start to go back to those flex groupings again, because that's best instruction. So this is what the mentoring, they mean 6th graders reading to 1st graders, that kind of thing is what mentoring means. Also, if they have a reading table, you know how some teachers have a kidney table at the front and they have their little reading group. If they want to bring that in, if they have space, if they have with their pods, if they can physically fit that in, they're going to bring in their, some of the teachers would like, especially kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, they're teaching reading. And that's what this one is, update classroom seating as appropriate. Because there's really some teachers that desperately want that reading table back for them for reading instruction, their small groups. So that's elementary. Any questions about elementary? Middle level, so this is what they'd like to do. They're going to eat in the lunchroom, so they're transitioning this week. Last week before spring break, they did a transition to the rules, to the expectations they call them of the classroom. They did teach twos. And so in the classrooms, they did that all last week to get ready for this week. So they started today, where they're transitioning back to the lunchroom. Also, it didn't hurt. I mean, it really helped that we had great weather, because when I was up at Timberlake High School, they're like, Meeting outside, and then there's social, air, and it was really nice to see. And they're out of the lunch at the gym, so they actually, Coach Miller got to be back in the gym teaching PE, which was nice. So there's a lot of happiness when I was up there. They're going to do the end of year celebration. We'll incur in person, they do that. They also do the 6th grade, update the desk configurations, just as we said. Bring tables, because remember we got rid of the tables because of social distancing. They had student desks, and if they had to pod, they podded. So they're going to start transitioning, including tables back, especially with labs, like their science and stuff. So they're doing it slowly. Nobody really wanted to jump in with all their feet, like, they just are doing slow. And I'm letting them kind of take their time according to their culture and climate, because there are some schools that the staff is more anxious, and there's others that are just trying to dive in for everything. So I'm letting them make that decision based on their culture and climate. But nobody's holding back completely, like, no, we're not doing anything. Nobody was like that at all. Everyone's super excited about this. And then their incoming 8th grade orientation is going to occur in person. And this is super important because if you've all had students that were going into 6th grade or going into the middle big school, or also with 9th grade going, and you'll see down in the high school. It's really important that happens in person because it takes away such a level of fear if you wait, don't do it until after the school summer's done. So high school, we've already talked about this as a group. They are going to keep the same bell schedule because it just would be way too disruptive to change all of those. It would be really, really hard for everyone. So we're going to keep that. That's why we can't go to pure green. I mean, obviously the board's in charge, but it would be really difficult for us to put all of those high school kids back in the green. End of the year assemblies though, and prom will be in person. So they're really looking forward to in-person. An entire assembly will be in person. Hopefully we will continue to have 0 cases. You saw we had 0 cases all, last week, none today so far. I think there was, what was it, like 2 the week before break? So it's very, very minimal right now. If that keeps up. Graduation ceremonies, you've already approved of those for real life for both of the 2 comprehensive high schools, and Mountain View, which Trustee Grissom worked with me last year, was outside, but I think they're going to want to do it in the gym this year. So depending if it continues, that will be there. Spring sports will continue as normally scheduled. They're all outdoor activities anyway, so they're going to continue to allow parents to transfer their students. If parents didn't feel comfortable, they let them transport their own students to and from the game. There's just a sign sheet that they take responsibility for that liability. They're going to continue to allow that through the rest of the year. Then the prom, mock DUI for seniors, the 8th grade orientation, and scholarship will all be in person this year. ASB elections are going to be virtual, but class elections will include grade level assembly because it's 5 grades, so they have the ability to be a little more spaced out. And then band and choir, they transition that back into the classroom. I was up there and saw that today at Timberlake High School, and it was great, and the kids are super excited.
Yeah, and all of them are probably, it's a little bit of normalcy. It's probably nice.
Very nice. They're super excited. So that's what we have, unless the board would like to request anything else.
No, that's great. I think that's awesome that they, I mean, obviously personally from the staff perspective, all that, but just to, thinking about all the students and how that must be, I'm sure they have their own anxiousness too, just everything they've been through, but to see school, those that have a history, to get some normalcy, whatever you want to call it, routine back, I'm excited for them. I'm hoping that that'll, make their year much better than last year's game, that's for sure. Yes. That's great.
Yeah, looks wonderful.
I think the administration did a great job. Dr. Meyer, what I'm wondering though is instead of putting this modification into the reopening plan, if it can be on its own addendum, because I'm a little concerned about it not balancing out with some of the other items that we have listed on the reopen plan specific to opening in yellow, because this isn't about being in yellow, it's about modifying reopening the school. I mean, it's in a sense, it's like a step to green. It's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And the only reason why I'm saying that is like oops, because right below all the highlighted yellow, it says, you know, limit, avoid mixing of student groups to reduce potential exposure. But yet we're reopening the playground, which is what I want. I think that's phenomenal. But I just think maybe if we took this section and sort of made it its own addendum to the reopen plan as a stepstone to green, because I don't want it to muddy the yellow. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right. But no, I think what they've come up with is dynamic. I'm a little confused on the current bell schedule will be maintained, because I saw the thing that went out from Mr. Derrick stating that they were going to one lunch schedule instead
Yeah,
of
that's
two.
wording probably because they did it together for all 3 high schools. So
Okay.
we probably need to maintain start and stop times is really what it is.
Okay, yeah, yeah. He did state that we're still starting and stopping. We're just adding a few minutes here and there, but taking away the one. And I don't know that each high school does everything exactly the same. So
Right.
I
That's
just thought
probably
that
the
was
ones we're gonna get. So I'll just say maintain current start and stop time schedule.
okay, perfect. No, I think that looks great. So if anyone would like to make a motion with regard to removing face coverings or notations with respect to face coverings within the reopen plan for phase yellow and adopting the modified approach for each school with regard to flowing over to the green category, that'd be great. That wasn't a motion. I'm tossing it out there for someone to create.
Chair Thompson, do you think that we should put those in 2 motions, being that we're moving the yellow to an addendum?
You know what? I think that would be a great thing to do. So,
Board Chair Thompson, if we could say maybe like modified yellow instead of, or some transition yellow, some sort of word so that when I send it out to the parents, they will see that it's a.
We're still in yellow, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yellow 0.5.
Yeah, 0.5 would be, something like that would be helpful, just the addendum will show that that's what we're kind of.
okay, I'm writing, so hang on a second. All right, so if I could have a motion to remove all notation of face coverings and mask shields within the yellow schedule. Good gravy. Trustee Grissom, can I have some input on how we should maybe motion to remove the language?
Sure, I'll move that we remove all recommendations of face covering language underneath the yellow in the reopen plan for current school year.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Go ahead. I'll second that.
All right, hearing a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, so let's see here. Okay, I'm going to. Okay, so I'm thinking I'd like a motion to add an addendum to our reopen plan for the yellow category that adopts the social distancing protocols and healthy precautions for the remainder of the school year, or the 2020-2021 school year.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Hearing a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And I believe that is all we have on the agenda for today. So, motion or meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.